I am considering dealing with some debt reduction. I am not considering $50,000 debt reduction, but I'm in the process of taking a hard look at whether or not there will be additional debt forgiveness.
Joe Biden's talking about the debt forgiveness, student loan debt forgiveness that has been bounced around ever since he was running. And now he's making sure everyone knows, hey, we're not talking about a $50,000 mark. Hey, let's calm down with all that talk here. Now, he's doing all this. He wants to make sure, of course, these reporters know and the country knows, hey, am I gonna do something for you guys? Calm down. He did reject that whole proposal because Chuck Schumer, Elizabeth Warren, those types of folks are pushing him on this. But there was more context to his rejection there and a little bit of a dig at Chuck Schumer for continuing to push this at him. Watch the full context here.
Majority Leader Schumer said yesterday that you're, quote, getting closer to using executive authority to cancel up to $50,000 in student loan debt. Can you confirm that? What exactly are you looking to plan to do here in the coming months?
You mean my spokesman said that?
Majority Leader Schumer.
Yeah. Look, number one, first thing we did was reform the system that was in place that didn't work for anybody, that allowed people to write off debt if they engaged in public service. We have almost 1,785,000, don't hold me the exact number, I'll get the number, 700 and some thousand have had debt forgiven, their whole debt forgiven because of their working in either as teachers or other means by which they qualify. And we continue to make that easier. Secondly, I am considering dealing with some debt reduction. I am not considering $50,000 debt reduction.
So some, and he also detailed some of the ways that he's also had some forgiveness for certain people in certain occupations and backgrounds that they've done. So there's been some level of, he wants to make sure he's done something. You guys know this for sure, but he's squirming now when it comes to all this back and forth about the 50,000 and maybe being more broad in this approach. What is it that Chuck Schumer said that has him this squirmy? Watch.
Imagine being closer to retirement than to college and realizing you've only made a dent in your student loans. Millions of borrowers of color, millions more of borrowers in general, live with this reality. Once again, borrowers don't need their debts paused, they need them erased. This isn't just the right thing to do for our economy, it's the right thing to do for racial equity, and I'll keep urging the president to take this important step. And I say to my colleagues, I think the president's moving in our direction. My talks with him and his staff have been very fruitful over the last little while, and I am hopeful that he will do the right thing. We're getting closer, we're getting closer.
It's slow, it was gravelly, it was a bit boring, but what Chuck Schumer there is saying, as of course he mentions the racial inequities within our country and access to college and also the debt that's incurred by so many people that then ever can't get out of it. And then we have these opportunity barriers, specifically with minority communities. That's one thing not Chuck Schumer, but Joe Biden doesn't want to get put on the hook for ignoring. There's a little bit more of that pressure. And then also he says, we've been having talks, I feel like we're getting somewhere. That's a suggestion that Joe Biden better do something or else me telling you this is gonna expose him as a liar. These are pressure tactics and that's what's pushing Joe Biden to the brink here. Now, let's go down a graphic to you guys because this is what could possibly also be happening, and it's why Biden's kind of pushing this around. This is what I was thinking. I'm glad there's a bit of a confirmation here. So the Biden administration pushed back this ongoing COVID-19 related federal student loan moratorium until August 31st. When that happened, this was a thought in my head too. The timing feeds into theories that the Biden administration might plan to use this issue to revitalize Democratic enthusiasm and voter turnout ahead of the midterms. 100%. And just yesterday, the CBS and the Washington Post both reported that the president held a lengthy meeting with the Congressional Hispanic Caucus on Monday, reportedly expressing openness to canceling tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt in the coming months, perhaps through executive action.
Does he still hold a concern that pursuing student loan relief could provide a giveaway to certain college graduates? And as a result of that, is there consideration of having income caps with any sort of student loan relief?
There is, and he's talked about that back to when he ran for president. And I would say when he talks about the type of schools, there are a number of schools, some you mentioned, that have larger endowments than other schools, public universities and others. And so what he's referencing is making sure it's targeted to those graduates who have the greatest need. And it wasn't meant to just discriminate. It's more meant to make a point about where the needs are greatest. And that's why he has talked about in the past having an income cap as well.
White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, they're talking about their position when it comes to this ongoing student loan forgiveness battle. First, of whether or not to do it at all, how much to maybe potentially forgive for, and maybe now who to afford that benefit to. And now they're talking about income caps. Let's look into some of those details. Part of Jen Psaki's explanation included this. She says, well, the president talked back in the campaign about taking steps or looking at steps to help people making less than $125,000 a year. So that's the frame through which he's considering making considerations at this point, is what she said on board of Air Force One as the president traveled to Alabama to tour Lockheed Martin plant. So some of the details of this latest level of forgiveness guidelines. In recent weeks, senior Biden aides have examined limiting the relief to people who earn less than either $125,000 or $150,000 as individual filers in the previous year, is what the people did say. That plan would set the threshold at around $250,000 or $300,000 for couples who file their taxes jointly. Is what also these same insiders said. No final decisions have been made, and the people familiar with that matter stressed that planning was fluid and subject to change. Also, the administration has discussed limiting forgiveness to undergraduate loans, excluding those who had taken out loans for professional degrees in fields such as law and medicine, is what the folks said. So first thoughts on this, Miss Lawyer, since you went to law school and you took that postgraduate degree, what are your thoughts?
I don't think it's right. I think that it needs to include individuals who have advanced degrees, not simply because I have one, because I've paid off my student loans, well, largely for the most part. But at the same time, is that there are a number of people who are Black and brown who are not represented when it comes to individuals in professional degrees, whether it's medicine or law or any of the other fields. And if you want individuals in those fields, you're going to have to help make do, because the fact is also that our society continues to pay Black and brown people less. So while I'm making like 70 something cents on the dollar for every white male who's doing the job, that means that I'm not bringing in as much as I would like in addition to that and having to pay student loans. So if anything, it should be an income to student loan debt ratio. And it definitely needs to include professional degrees to encourage people of color, who generally are the most marginalized and in need, to continue to pursue those licenses so we can have more representation in those particular fields.
There's so many discussions that surround this, I think that surround this topic that we blow off, not us particularly, but just blown off in the country in general. When it comes to, like you said, how much certain folks make compared to white men on particular jobs, or even accessibility to certain jobs, pay rates in those jobs, and under people being overqualified for jobs that they have to take once they graduate from college. All those things happen and we discuss it and they get blown off as, oh yeah, just get a job, it's what's available. And then student loans come up later and we act like those things are not connected. So these people who are, quote, overeducated, as you guys should look up what Matt Gaetz was saying today, it's completely unrelated, but he hates educated people. Those overeducated people who are doing jobs that they shouldn't have to be doing, that don't have anything to do with their degrees because those jobs aren't available, we blow that off. But then we still have them having to pay those loans. And they say, get a job. What job? Here's some pressure that's coming from the left, at least. Joe Biden is catching it from all corners. So the Congressional Hispanic Caucus and Congressional Black Caucus are among those that have pushed the administration to take aggressive action, in part because Black Americans represent a disproportionate share of student debtors. Black people are 16% of the US population, but owe 23% of the nation's student debt. Representative AOC, who's been pushing the White House to forgive student debt, said that the administration should cancel as much as $50,000 per borrower and expressed concern that $10,000, which is what Biden pushed, I think, on the campaign trail, would not amount to a meaningful improvement for many people.